So this is a review for Rabbit Every Monday, and with me today is someone who has a rabbit every Monday because he's a fox, my good friend Foxinafix. Say hi!
Very sharp. Hi guys, it's Fox, and this is a beautiful cartoon, and in my opinion, a very overlooked cartoon.
Yep, definitely right, and we are going to definitely go through that in this review, so just a few things to get out of the way. As mentioned, it's Rabbit Every Monday, released on the 10th of February 1951. It's the 612th in the series, and it's directed by Friz Freleng. You can find this beautiful restoration on the Bugs Bunny 80th anniversary Blu-ray set. I have a link below, as I can't show you the full cartoon here due to copyright. In case you haven't seen this one, and it's one that perhaps a lot of people may not have seen, well, it's basically Yosemite Sam, or Sam in this case, hunting a rabbit, and there's all sorts of shenanigans, and we'll get into that in a moment. I mean, it's pretty much, you could replace Yosemite Sam with Elmer in this one.
To a certain extent.
Yeah, exactly. It's a similar type of cartoon where you look at it like as an Elmer versus Bugs cartoon, but with Sam, but I think it's more entertaining with Yosemite Sam. But, so there's a few bits of trivia here. The title itself appears to be a play on the film Chicken Every Sunday. Of course, the cartoon's got nothing to do with that film, but a lot of Friz titles appear to be a play on other films. Now, you will notice that there's no writing credit, and this is one of two shorts where there's no writing credit, and it is believed that Friz was the writer. And at this point in time, you had two writers. You had Ted Pierce, you had Warren Foster. You had Ted Pierce working with the Friz Freleng unit, you have Warren Foster with the McKimson unit, and for whatever reason, and as Devin Baxter mentioned to me, no one really knows what happened. Apparently there was politics involved, the writers switched, so of course there was that transition period, hence why Friz would have written it.
And I think it's very impressive because this is a very good cartoon. And the other one he did was a Stooge for a Mouse, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
But the strange thing with that one is that it was later redone with Rocky and Muxie called Bugsy and Muxie, which is a lot like it. But that one has the writing credits of Warren Foster, so that's just really confusing to me. But I assume that Friz did this one himself.
Exactly, and it's quite possible that maybe they're running behind later on, so Friz just said to Warren, hey, I did this short, we can redo it, and then...
It's not exactly the same, but it's 50-50.
Yeah, close enough. Now, I will ask everyone in the comments to let me know what they think, but the background artist is Paul Julian. He had a tendency in the Freleng unit to add names in the background, and I did notice one called HP Cement. Now, do you guys think that might be a reference to Holy Pratt? I don't know. Could be. Let me know what you think in the comments.
I do think so. Those things are hardly ever random.
Yeah, so I think the only person that in the crew that seems to have HP is Holy Pratt, so I'm guessing it might be his side gig as a cement maker. I don't know. Maybe he was doing some extra work,
Well, I do have to say this cartoon is, for some reason, particularly beautifully animated, and even those Paul Julian background paintings, they stand out a lot. I don't know what it is with this one, but it seems like they went the extra mile with this one for some reason.
Exactly, and you can look at some of the other details in the background, which also shows how great this restoration is, by the way, after seeing this cartoon in a pretty faded and miserable state for a long period of time. So, for example, you can see briefly a picture of a woman in the background. This tells me this short probably takes place at the turn of the century, given how the woman looks in that painting. And there was also a newspaper that says Probe Looms, and who knows what that's about? I don't know. But it's interesting to see, I think, anyway. Also, the footage that's used later on, which again we'll get into, we're not actually sure where that actually comes from. It looks like it's probably just stock footage. Greg Ford, on his audio commentary on the 80th Bugs Bunny, said he doesn't seem to know where it's from. He believes it's stock footage, so we'll just go with that.
Cartoon Logic with Ted Komorowski and Bob Jakes did an whole episode on this short, highlighting Friz Freleng. And I'm not going to repeat anything from that, but I do know they went looking for that footage as well, so maybe they know.
If anyone knows, definitely let us know in the comments. But yeah, Greg Ford, who, he is an authority and he doesn't seem to think that it's anything more than stock footage. But hey, experts have been wrong before, so I would love to be corrected if there is a definitive answer to that. So, Fox, yeah, this one is a bit of a underrated gem, as you mentioned earlier. So what do you think this one's an underrated gem?
Well, like I said, for some reason the animation looks very on point for this time period. At least it seems to me. It stands out to me. The gags are original and meta. I like the bubblegum gag, which is very out there, but it lasts just long enough. And the story, while thin, it flows very naturally. And the short proves cartoons don't need too much story to be brilliant. And like I said, the writing is very meta, from the joke with Sam talking to the silhouette and the audience to the final part, like you mentioned with the live action footage, which is totally absurdistic. I don't recognize Friz like that. It's really like they went the extra mile for this one.
Yeah, it's a weird one because I noticed that, yes, the fourth wall breaking, that feels more like a Tex Avery gag because that's what Tex Avery did. Friz seems to be more of the, I guess, quote unquote common sense director. Like, he never went truly wild in a lot of his short, and yet this one, he just went
Yeah,
a
this
little
one
bit
is very
silly.
exaggerated and meta like that. It's really like he had a lot of influence from Tex Avery or something at this time.
It's very, very odd. And of course, at this point, in case anyone didn't know, because some people are new to animation history. Tex Avery, by this point, he's still at MGM during his last few years at that studio. But hey, maybe they had a cup of coffee or something. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Maybe they were talking about working at MGM and how they liked it and how they didn't like it.
Who knows? But that's perhaps lost to history. So I guess we got to get to building that time machine so we can see if any of these theories are true. But let's look at the beginning. Every Friz short just around this time, with Bugs Bunny at least, seems to have him singing at least one song. And here he sings the wonderful "It's Magic," where he uses his own lyrics.
When in my heart I know the magic is my love for you.
I don't know, it's a nice little touch, nice way to introduce the short.
I love that song. It gives a nice feeling right away. The feeling of it's a very calm song, and it's nice to start out the cartoon this way because a lot of chaos ensues.
Exactly, and of course, yeah, later on we see Yosemite Sam in the picture. But back to those carrots for one brief moment. I mean, I'm actually not too big on eating carrots myself, but I will say the way that this is animated and restored and colored and all that, it looks kind of appetizing.
Yeah, it did look good, and I also want a piece of that gum.
Yes, the magical gum for sure.
Also, how did Bugs fit into the gun and even the bullet at one point?
Who knows? I mean, it's actually like what Bug says at the end.
I don't ask questions. I just have fun.
That quote, you could apply that to just about every single moment in this short. That's what makes it so darn good. And speaking of that bubblegum gag, we gotta love how in Friz cartoons, whenever there's bubblegum involved, usually it's with the Sylvester short or whatever, bubblegum seems to have these weird properties in cartoons. Like, they'll
Right.
be like there's helium in there, and it's extra sticky, extra gooey, extra large for such a tiny little parcel that you put in your mouth.
For some reason, this short has a lot of original gags you don't see in other ones that are not a cliche or anything. I was really surprised by that when I
Correct.
watched it for the first time.
Correct. I mean, there was one Sylvester short recently that had the bubblegum gag, but still, the way it was done a little bit differently here. So I like the fact that there's a bit of a variety happening. And of course, Carl Starling being Carl Starling, I mean, what song plays during that moment? I'm forever blowing bubbles. Of course
Well,
it is.
at first I was a little afraid they were gonna make the bubblegum a plot point and go on with it too long. It's just for one gag, and it gets even funnier at one point, then it stops, and then the plot flows. And I think there's really good decision making with this short. Like the gag with Bugs throwing away the hat,
Yes.
Sam's head. It shows his lack of respect towards Sam and that he's the one in control. And Sam is like, "That's my new hat," and you just don't expect that.
Exactly. Just the way that Sam says it, that's my new hat. Like, I can't do Sam's voice at all. I don't want to ruin it for future reviews, or else people will start complaining. But I will say, I mean, as I mentioned before, you can kind of sort of replace Sam with Elmer. I mean, remember in the late 40s, when Sam was only in a couple of shorts, he wasn't exactly breakout at that point. Freely made a few Elmer and Bugs shorts, and this short here, Rabbit Every Monday, has the same vibe as those shorts, but it seems like by this
Yeah.
point, he just wants to use Yosemite Sam versus Elmer. It's like, nope, I find Sam a much more interesting character.
Yeah, so Sam's anger issues are a lot more comedic, I think, than Elmer's stupidity.
Exactly. And mentioning Greg Ford again, in his audio commentary on that 80th set, he actually plays a few clips by Friz himself, and he more or less points out that, yeah, Sam's a more interesting character, you can do more with him, you can change Sam to different roles as well, and it just works better than Elmer. But
But also this plot, it usually Warren Foster writes a story, where there's a very obvious conflict. But this one is just Sam for some reason wants to eat a rabbit, and that's it.
Yeah, he lives out in a cabin in the woods. And again, I think this is just early 20th century. Again, judging by that wonderful photo of a turn of the century woman there, which is kind of hourglass shapely and all that. But anyway, I won't get into too much detail there. But I think that's what it is. But I'm sure you can agree with me that the best gag in this short has to be the very final, really absurdist one. And it's not even just the live action footage, but it's all the lead up to it where, okay, Bugs is in the oven and Sam's like, yep, I've won. But then Bugs starts walking and just the
Yeah.
expression on Sam, his expression is
Well,
hilarious.
I've learned to spot Virgil Ross's animation. He drew the whole scene with Bugs walking in and out of the oven to ask for a bottle opener and more ashtrays. I always notice the cheeks, the chin, and the shape of the eyes look a particular way in his character animation. So the cheeks take up a little bit of the eyes. And that way you can spot him.
Yeah, well, I'm slowly learning.
It's
I
a
got that.
very long scene, and maybe someone else takes over at one point. I'm not skilled enough to see, but most of it is Virgil Ross.
Well, as Devin Baxter pointed out to me, and in the review for Put It Out Trouble that's going to be up, he pointed out that Friz had a tendency to assign animators to whole sequences rather than little bits of scenes like Clamper did. Clamper was the other extreme, where Clamper would have different animators. Even in mid-scene, he would change to somebody else,
Right,
Um,
I think in What's Cooking Dog, that's the case. It's very strange.
Exactly, whereas Friz seems to assign sequences based on the animator's strengths, and that's why you have long stretches of Art Davis, long stretches of Virgil Ross, long stretches of John Carey. He's in a few Friz shorts around this time. So, yeah, I think maybe the whole thing's Virgil Ross. It's quite possible.
Yeah, and like you said, that ending twist is simply brilliant because Bugs actually has a change of heart when he got Sam stuck in the oven, and he's then fooled by his own gag. And his reaction, though, is priceless, but everything's possible in a cartoon, and he knows it.
Exactly, and it ends perfectly because there's really no ending as such. It just ends, but it ends on such a great gag, great absurdist gag with a wonderful punchline, as I mentioned before. I don't ask questions, I just have a lot of fun.
Nobody loses, so even
Exactly.
if you're rooting for Sam, you're having a good time.
Exactly.
I remember when Trevor Thompson did his commentaries, he did one on this, and I remember him having a very, very sharp, very clever point. At one point, when Sam is putting Bugs in the oven, he says,
Now quit stalling and start roasting.
and then the music score actually stops and it doesn't come back because they only use stock music from there on. So Carl Stalling actually stops doing the score when Sam says quit stalling. So that's very interesting, and I'm not sure if it's coincidental.
Wow.
It just vanishes. You have to look it up to see it, but it's true. It's really strange.
Wow, props to Trevor for noticing that, because I certainly didn't. that's wow, that's really awesome.
Yeah, go watch this cartoon. It's really better than you remember.
Exactly, yeah, it's 9 out of 10 for me. I love it. It's a nice little gem, wonderfully restored, and as Greg Ford points out, it's about time, because it only just came out a few years ago at the time of this recording. But yeah, wonderful, wonderful cartoon, 9 out of 10.
I want to give the 9 out of 10, but it feels too low. But 9.5 out of 10 feels too high, so I'm in between that.
All right, 9.25. There we are. We can go.
That's it. That's it.
We can
You
go
write
with
it
that.
down.
That's it, 9.25. I'll jot it down like every other review score that I've forgotten. But anyway, I wonder if someone
What?
out there's.
You didn't keep track?
I should. Maybe someone can do that for me. So there you go. If you guys are bored at home, have nothing to do, just go back on every single review and jot it all down. And I'll actually be curious to see how I've been ranking these things. That would be very, very
Yeah, some
intriguing.
obsessive viewer will do it probably.
Yes, indeed. But that'll wrap it up for this one. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care.
I don't ask questions. I just have fun.